What's up, kinfolk? Welcome back. So, today is day 2 as we are exploring Egypt. And the topic for tonight is Nubia and Nubians. So, let's kickstart this off with just going over who are Nubians, where is Nubia, and all that jazz. So, it says Nubians are a group of people from a region called Nubia. As we see, this whole highlighted section here is what is considered Nubia. And up top, you will see that this is Egypt. And this straight line here is the border that separates Egypt from Sudan. So Nubia and the Nubians are not just specifically to Egypt. They predate the man-made borders that, separated Egypt from Sudan. And so lower Nubia is in southern Egypt, and upper Nubia is actually south of that in the upper region of Sudan. And so, as we will see, Nubia and the Nubians were all along the Nile River, which is this blue part here. And so we will also see Aswan, which we will talk about. Aswan is the city where they are located today if you go to visit the Nubians. So it says that they were located along the Nile River, extending from Aswan, Egypt to Khartoum, Sudan. And today they have been displaced. So they were moved 4 times for the creation of a dam, or there were 2 parts of a dam. So the most recent time that they were displaced or moved was in like the 1960s. So basically, the government wanted to create this dam to make space for Lake Nasser. And because of that, the Nubian villages were flooded and they had to be moved, right? Because of the creation of this dam. If the dam had not been created, then the flooding wouldn't have happened and they wouldn't have needed to move. And so there was there wasn't, so the Nubians weren't entirely, they didn't agree. The Nubians didn't agree on like where they wanted to move. So some wanted to move south to kind of stay by the like salvaged monuments. Some wanted to go north of the Nile, and then some just left and went to like Cairo and Sudan, right? And so in the 1960s, when they were displaced, 1963 and 1964, they were taken from the area by the Nile River, obviously where there is water, and they had an abundance of palm trees, right? And then they were displaced and moved to desert area. So in 1963 and 1964, like all of the children that were born during that time died. And one lady, 2 of her children died. She had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and they died. And they were saying like only 30% of the housing that was supposed to be created for them was finished. So 70% of the housing was not finished. It had not been built. The heat was intolerable. And then they were given like water in contaminated rusty buckets. So the water was contaminated, which significantly contributed to the deaths of all of these children. And they said that they were building graves day and night, and they called them like nursery tombs. But there was no media like to come and show what was happening to the Nubians, which is like pretty typical, right? Like they're going through this really horrible time where all of these people have been displaced, significantly decreasing their population. So many people like died during the displacements, but then having all these children die in 1963 and 1964 is just like really awful. And so even with the people being displaced, right, the Nubians were moved, they weren't given any rights to like the land, and they weren't given like compensation. They weren't given good enough financial compensation for them being displaced and moving. So it's just like all of this crazy negative things happen at the hands of the government. And there was this like constitutional paper that said that they had the right to return to their home. Now, this was their last time they were displaced was the 60s. It's 2025, and they still haven't been able to like return home. And they have been fighting for it for years. And it seems like after that paper saying they had the right to return, then they made it like 10 months later or something, they made it like military land. And so basically it's like because it's for the military, some of it or whatever, like they can't ever move back for real. Like, what? Doesn't that sound it sounds very familiar. It's sounding very much like colonization. Where we're gonna take this from you and oh, we're gonna give you something. Oh, but then we're gonna walk back what we say we're gonna give to you. Mm, very interesting. So, although they've had to deal with all of like this displacement and all of these negative things that have significantly impacted them, they have done a tremendous job of preserving like their culture, their language, and I'm going to share with you some of the like distinctions of like Nubian culture, right? So, let's start Let's start here. We'll just stay here where we already are. And so it says that the Nubians originated from the early inhabitants of the Central Nile Valley, and the Nile has always been a significant part of life for them, right? And back in the day, during Egypt's like 25th dynasty, I believe, the kingdom of Kush, which is all where like Nubia was, they ran Egypt. Okay, they were in charge. And then, like, since then, there's been this influx of like Arab migration. And we talked earlier yesterday about how Egypt was kind of central to connecting Africa, Asia, and Europe through like trade and the ports and everything from the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea and the Suez Canal and all of these things. And so, with that, the just number of cultures and people from different countries that through trade and war and all of these things that interacted with Nubians, of course, things can start to get a little diluted. And then the Arabs were like assimilating. And so even through all of this, like interacting with all these cultures and people from all of these different countries, they have still done a tremendous job at preserving their culture, which is really great. So they are known for like basket weaving, and you see like this weaved design here, which is so beautiful. They also are known for like their beadwork and their pottery as well. And music is a big part of their culture. And their music tends to focus on like the lyrics and things tend to be about like the Nile, obviously, because that's where they predominantly were, right? As well as like migration and then loss, right? Those are some of the things that they kind of sing about in their music, as well as like love and beautiful things as well. So let me make sure that I am sharing this for you. So this is some of the weaving that I was mentioning earlier that they are known for, right? They are also known for their mud homes that they paint in these like beautiful bright colors. So if we go here, I'm going to show you. So this is me and my family. We took a boat to, we were in Aswan and we took a boat to go to one of the Nubian villages. So this is like the area that we're in. And honey, when I say that it was it was hot. Okay. And so when we got there, let me see this whole like video. When we got there, like you can see some of the beautiful colors, right? Like you get introduced to it as you are on your way to the village, and it's so beautiful. They have all of these homes. So you see the dome shape that they are known for, and then you see some of the art and all the beautiful, colorful buildings, right? Super nice, super pretty, all along this area. And then we arrive here and we can look at some of the art here as well and how beautiful that is. And my favorite, oh my goodness, look at this. Look at how gorgeous this is. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. It was so beautiful. think I had to like come way down here to pause it. Let's see. There we go. So look at this. Look at this artwork, honey. Look at this artwork, honey. Yes, it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. And so being able to go through parts of the village and just seeing all of the beautiful artwork and the colors and what they wanted to highlight about their culture was really beautiful. And then we can go to, as we are walking to the area, like where one of the homes is, you see that they have lots of items for sale, all sorts of like little souvenirs. We see again more like weaving of different bags and things. And then over here, we have our cloths and our like decorative wraps and things like that. And oh, honey child, you see all these spices? Oh, look at all these spices looking delicious. So once we got to the village and we were in like the home, we were welcomed with hibiscus tea, which was really nice and really great. So you can see the tea and this is not what I wanted to go to. So we can, hold on, let me find it again. This was April 2025. So we were welcomed with like the hibiscus tea. And when you go in, everything again is so brightly colored and beautiful. Now let me get back to where we were. Then I'm pushing the wrong thing. Okay, so here, look at all of the beautiful colors, the paintings that are on the wall, all the different like designs. And they also have like lots of crocodiles as well. So there are a couple of places like inside of here where they have the crocodiles kind of like locked in these cages. And it was like, wow, that's crazy. But you see all the beautiful art and all of the beautiful colors. That is something that is really synonymous with Nubian culture. And so inside of this is one area where they had like crocodiles. But you see like just like the different style of architecture that they have for their housing, which is like really beautiful. And then we also like got our little henna tattoos. They have these books that you can choose from. I'm not sure why she made that so ginormous on my hand. It was like a little crazy, but these are some of the things that are traditional to them. And so there are lots of cultures in Africa that practice henna. And so sometimes henna is not associated with Africa. And it's like, they've been doing henna in Africa for like generations, for real. And so just to give you guys a glimpse of that, that was some of what we saw when we went to the Nubian village, right? And so let's see, what else? With the construction of the dam, let's talk about Abu Simbel. So the Nubian monuments are a huge tourist attraction that you guys should definitely make your way to. Abu Simbel is quite far. It's like, I think like a 3 to 4 hour drive, maybe no traffic, but there's so much traffic. Like there were thousands. I mean, I'll show you guys videos. There were so many people that when you drive, you are required, like police will pull you over and check and make sure that you have 2 drivers. That is how like dangerous it can be, and that is how far the drive can be, right? You are not allowed to go just with one driver. And this is going to Abu Simbel. Now, In Abu Simbel, they have the Nubian monument. And what's really cool about that is they were moved. Like I'm going to show you, you can kind of see a little tiny bit here, but they were broken up into over 1,000 pieces and completely. So if we come back here, you will see this sign and it says like the original site of the temples is one way, and then where the temples are now is another way, right? So the temples were over here. So we see the Nile River. And again, because of like the dam to make way for the lake, there was all this flooding. And so they had to move the temple to prevent it from being flooded. And it was over here on this side. And so they moved it. And when we come over here, so again, it's to the left, or excuse me, it's to the right. And now currently, you see how ginormous this is? Like what? I still can't fathom and wrap my mind around how they moved it. Like it doesn't make sense. Like I want to see a video of them moving it because what? Like how? This thing is massively huge. So remember how I was talking about how packed it is in April? Okay, so this is the Nubian monuments that were moved, right, at Abu Simbel. These are the amount of people that were there during April. And he said, oh, come on now. He said that it's more than twice as many people there in October. More than twice. So when I told you guys it was a bit overwhelming for me when you look at how many people are trying to get in, and then knowing that it's just as many people inside where there's no ventilation, even though it's outside of the sun. So it is a little bit better because the scorching heat is not on you. But all of these people trying to get in and get out at the same time, and he said twice as many in October. That's why I said probably avoid going in October and in April, and instead try to go like November through March, which is a really good time to go. Unless you want to see when, like, I think it is the moon that lines up in the way that it perfectly aligns twice a year, the moon like perfectly aligned, and then the light interior. I don't know if it's the sun during the sunrise. It's probably the sunrise, actually. That would make more sense because it was like super early in the morning. And then the light hits a certain part to where it illuminates the statues that are inside. But this is some of the inside, but you guys can like see that on your own. And then this is a second part of it. So this is not the first part that had those 4 statues of King Ramses the Great. So this was created by King Ramses the Great or King Ramses the Second. And then this is a second part of that. So like this whole thing was moved. What? And so people were saying like they could kind of see where it was broken apart and then where they put it back together. That's great for them. I wasn't playing like Nancy Drew Detective, so I didn't look at that or figure that out. But this is just, it's such an amazing place. You have to absolutely like, it's absolutely worth the effort to go all the way out there. And so it says that UNESCO was a great help, and they did this like whole campaign in order to get the monuments moved because they were threatened with submersion because of the dam and all of that, right? Okay, cool. So another place that is really good to go is like the Nubia Museum, because that has thousands of artifacts that is specific to Nubian culture, but specifically Nubian in Egypt. So remember we were talking about how Nubia was in Egypt and Sudan, but the Nubia Museum focuses primarily on like Egyptian civilization and Egyptian culture, not Sudanese, right? So this is definitely another place that you should absolutely visit, and this is in Aswan. So if you make the trip to Aswan, it is a quick flight. You can absolutely like add these to your list of things to do when you are there. Okay. Let's see what else. So we talked a little bit about their crafting. We talked a little bit about music. We talked a bit about their architecture. We talked a little bit about cuisine. And like they're super communal people, and especially for like tourists, you go there, they're very welcoming. You can actually stay in the village. I would love to go back and stay in the village for a while and really get to experience the culture and just like talk to people and get to know like the Nubians better than what my little short time there experiencing them was like. So I would really love to hear that. And also, most of them are Muslim because, of course, Islam has dominated like Egypt, but they do still hold some of their like pre-Islamic beliefs, and they have like some folklore things that they still like pay attention to, or they still like enforce, I guess, for lack of a better word. So for example, they have like mummies of dead crocodiles like above the door, which is supposed to like protect them, right? So there are some things that are from Islam, but they still, again, have preserved some of their culture. So they do have some of their like old school traditions regarding just religion, regarding their belief system and their culture in general. Okay, we talked about how you can shop there, and we talked about a couple of places that you guys can go. Also, I want to talk about the young Nubians. So, again, even though they have been displaced and there has been this influx of migration from, West Asia and a lot of Arabs going and like kind of having more power in government, because remember the Nubians ruled back in like Egypt's 25th dynasty, if I'm not mistaken, but now it's like predominantly or entirely run by Arabs, right? And so Nubians are still advocating, they're still fighting for themselves and trying to ensure that they are not erased. They are still fighting for getting their land back to return back to where they were on the Nile River. And they have younger Nubians who are producing just like art and doing things on social media in order to like make sure that we are learning about the like truth of Nubians and like reclaiming their narrative instead of just hearing what like the masses are saying about it. And so that's where this information came from. And it says Nubia Youth, which is an organization, is committed to supporting the initiatives and acting as a catalyst to help in the preservation of the Nubian heritage, in addition to amplifying the efforts of the numerous groups working in the same direction. And this is really great just because, again, like so many people have moved to Cairo or moved to bigger cities. And so to have the youth saying, no, we're going to make sure that we're preserving our culture, that's absolutely necessary to keep like, a group from dying out, right? And then also, I didn't talk about like within Nubia or within the Nubians now, because they've been displaced from Nubia. There are multiple like dialects and things. I believe there are three distinct groups. So they're not all one group that like has identical everything in terms of like culture and lifestyle. So there are three different groups of that, and they live in different places as far as I am aware, right? So there's so many things for you guys to like see and explore. Of course, Abu Simbel, the Nubian monument, is like an absolute must do. The Nubia Museum is an absolute must do if you make it there, just to learn about the Egyptian and Nubian civilization throughout time and how like it's grown and how it's developed and all of those things, which is really great. And this is a little bit about the Nubian Museum. You can see a few pictures. And of course, they have these the beautiful artwork and decorative designs and all of those things and some more information about it. And they have the Nubian villages. We talked about the henna. And then again, we showed some spices, but these are also some of like the traditional Nubian meals that you can partake in if you go to the Nubian village. So that is a little bit about my experience, and it's a little bit about the Nubians in general. and how they are a dominant force in Egypt, even though there has been a lot of assimilation from other cultures who are more prevalent now. All right. So drop any questions that you guys have in the chat or send me a message so that I can address those in the next live. So we have 3 more days of Egypt, and I will see you guys later. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye.